Back here this Wednesday afternoon, shortly after 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, September 6th. Let me get a quick sound check just to begin from Robert, one of our new trial members joining us here, as well as Michael, of course, and all of our students joining us here. Just give me a quick chat back. Let me know if you could hear me. So there we go. Perfect. Great to see Mario, Jeff, Kevin, Charles, Lawrence. Got a bunch of us chatting us right now. If I didn't chat you right there, my apologies. Margaret, Sam, Donald, Robert, Chuck, and Leda, and Grant, and all of our students here. Perfect. Great to see all of them. Great to have all of us back on social media, Facebook Live, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, etc. Hey, I have it on the screen to begin. NVAX, it's actually pushing back up right now, so we'll likely put this on our watch list, to begin the afternoon. But more so to go over just the move from the morning. It was a stock from earlier today that had a nice breakout, and even on a pullback, ended up leading to a great bounce just before. Now, that's easy to say normally, just looking at a chart after it already happened. But from earlier today, we were calling this out real time. We were calling it out live, and I'll show you it on level 4 right now. We were posting pictures earlier today in the chat board. So this is the run up that we had. Broke above resistance off of like 928, moved up pretty well, flipped that resistance into support pretty well here. Even after a nasty shake, it recouped and moved back up to break new highs. Well, just earlier here, beginning at 11:30, shortly after, we had this 100,000+ share bid. It popped up, it stayed out there for a long time. It ended up getting filled under, maybe even, under and then over. So that led to a beautiful entry. And then from that point, it's still pushing up. I ended up getting out on a trade earlier just to take the money and run. But beautiful move here so far on NVAX, taking us into this afternoon. So, like I'd said, it's still pushing up right now. Maybe until this last candle. Nasty little shake right now, actually, towards the VWAP here, roughly off of 975, 976. We'll see if it can keep holding support. I have no problem putting this on our watch list still to start off. Makes the cut, at least for right now. See if there's anything else that looks better even. There was something looking a lot better before, Pally, and it's still, I guess, sticking here near the highs. Ended up making a beautiful push when the market opened up, as well as earlier in pre-market. Pushing up from like 80 cents all the way up towards like $1.50 and plus, and then broke higher heading up towards 2 going into the late morning. I mean, hey, dove off, but even now, it's still kind of hanging in there, right? Just nasty little shake just now over the last few minutes, but hasn't made a lower low. It's still kind of retaining that trend for the meantime. Now, if I turn back to this in 3 minutes and it tanks, then at least, I'll definitely write it off. For right now, I actually just put this on the side list for right now. It doesn't make the full main list just yet. I say that because normally for a stock that's much lower float, we tend to see just, exhaustion for it to just dud out. Now, don't let Verb, hear me say that, because VERB yesterday was the one that popped, and that was really low float. This is about a 6 to 7 million share float, where right now today it's trading about 140, 135 plus million shares. So, hey, do it at your, own risk, because most times stocks that are this over traded end up just dying off, if not within the same day, then within the next day. So even Verb, just this morning, it was down big. It only continued to drop off earlier. I guess trying to build a little support right now. But yeah, even this for the meantime, I'm not as keen to put this on the afternoon list. It's just more so to say, watch out for stocks like the Pally, stocks like the MBSE from earlier as well. So, you know what? I may as well just go right from top to bottom here. We'll check back in on Pally at least. MBSE, actually. Let me get back to that scanner I had, because what do we got here? NBSE at 1.43 million share float with only 2.2+ million shares outstanding. Stocks trading nearly 100 mil today. So you tell me, exhausted or not? Very similar to Pally, actually a little under Pally even, because this I feel like is already shaken down a lot. It's already making that second wind type of move. Wouldn't shock me if this ends up breaking lower over time. But for right now, I guess I'll check back in with it at the end. Man, you take your eyes off a stock after a long time. Marin, MRIN, for any of our students like Leda or maybe Barbara, or I can say there's a lot of students, Chuck, Charles R. Just over the last year or two, if you've been with us, we've called this stock out, Marin, MRIN, off of, just news or pops, whatever. But you take your eyes off it for a while, because we're not swing trading this, obviously. We're just day trading the volatility and the news that comes out at times. But holy smokes, this thing tanked. Yeah, I mean, this thing took a huge hit off its IPO back from 14. We weren't following it back then, but it was more over the last few years. Even from mid 21, it dropped off from 25 down to 66 cents. So could there be more room on this trade? The reason I say that, it's not related to the pot stocks whatsoever in terms of just news or the sector, but in terms of the trend and the pattern that you see on the chart. Well, man, that's why I was kind of calling out CGC the last like week or so, and all the pot stocks are starting to move. I normally don't, right? But that's where I saw an opportunity there, and there still could be one on CGC, and there could still be one over time on Marin. I just say that solely in relation to how much it had dropped off. Now, when the volume begins to dump off on this type of trade, well, look what happens, right? Pumped all the way up, but then came crashing back down. So if you were late to the party on this type of trade, and if you weren't as focused on the cyber clock, then what do you think is going to happen? I mean, you're going to get caught slipping, or you might just take an unnecessary trade where you get stopped out for a small loss, but it just probably wasn't as worth it. So ended up pulling back. Maybe over time this could look to make another play, but I don't think we're going to really put this on our afternoon list right now, the Marin. Maybe check back in with it in the morning. PW. Ooh, make room for this APLT. Nice little pop right now. It's already up 44%, but it has good volume on the book for the meantime. So hopefully it continues. And not only that, but you have a big level right here, a bunch of volume getting filled from the tape just a moment ago. But you could see it on level 3 on my matrix here, right off of 180. Pretty big discrepancy between 180 and all the surrounding prices there. So I do like that as a big level to keep your eyes on. Yeah, I like it. APLT. Another type of low volume day trade, though, not a swing trade. Say that with the THTX trade, popped up earlier. We had called it out, and why not? It was at the high of the day, setting itself up pretty well here, has good volume on the book, and it did before, unfortunately. They're not all going to work out, and if this fails to hold past resistance into support, then, it's going to die off. If it's not going to hold past resistance into support, what do you think is going to happen? It's going to die off. I'm not talking about here. I'm talking about here. Not only that, let me go to a couple of pop and drops from earlier today. Remember Roku? Yeah, coming off good earnings and raised guidance. Oh, yeah, sounds so great, right? Yeah. Well, hey, I say that when I took the trade, but I waited for this to pull back towards $90, a little under 90. I was looking for a bounce, and we had a great opportunity. But I even wrote it in the chat board. I'm not going to take the time to repost. A little lazy today, but I wrote in the chat board earlier, and you could take the time to search. I said, Roku holding over support, but we know that doesn't make us money. So over time, what do you think is going to happen? Post that right now. That was at 10:59 in the morning. I wrote that. So, hey, over time, if it's not going to continue to bounce up pretty nicely here, what was the other one? There was one more, right? There was one more that was earnings related, I thought. Oh my goodness, right off the top of my head. Let me go to my bookmap page really quick. Pardon me. There was another one that was another pop and drop type of trade. The GitLab trade, definitely. I thought there was one more, though, that was it GitLab? Yeah, it was GitLab then. You're right, John. Yeah, GitLab too. Hey, it was odd. This morning, once the market opened up, I was actually down a little bit coming off the earnings pop, which was like freaky given the pop that it had. So I ended up bailing out on this trade pretty quickly once I was able to scrounge up break even. And from there, I was just, all right, well, if it pops up a little bit higher, maybe I'll jump back in, but ended up pulling back. So with that, hey, can't always get what you want. This one ended up dying off to the GitLab trade. But that's where I say, hey, just for what we call out, don't get stuck holding on to it. That's all. I see CT's out there. The MRIN's out there. Pally. And that eventually dumps off and makes a lower low. GTech. Durham. All right, we'll keep it going. How about this for Leda and for Kathleen, for Brad, for John, for Grant, for all of our students here? What do you think the news is on this NXGN trade? What do you think the news is out on it? Your favorite type of stock to at least cover, because it's really quick for us to cover, because we're not going to trade this type of trend, right? We don't trade a flat stock, right, John? So with that, I mean, just, hey, What do you think the news is, guys? A buyout, right? It's a buyout. So when there's a buyout, once it's made official, that's where you're not going to really see much movement on the equity. So buy the rumor, sell the news. But with this, it's going to just flatten out as far as a day trade. You can't really look to follow up much on it. Let's see what else we can nab here. So again, pot stocks, we were saying earlier, CGC, little move up right now on that. I'm not going to put them on our watch list for this afternoon for as, bullish as I am on them this week. And right now I'm looking for a pop on Tilray. I'm not going to put them on the list because they're really slow. If I'm wrong in that assessment, or at least for today, if I'm wrong and they don't bounce today and tomorrow they do, I don't want us to be being stuck watching the grass grow. So for right now, at least, let's see if there's anything else moving better. Robert asking, one of our new trial members, welcome aboard, Robert, and all of our new members here. I'm going to make a new welcome message here at the end of this meeting, but asking, where did you get the buyout? Where was it discussed? So that is just really a pattern that we often see here in our trading room, and we teach that in our main curriculum. In the phase 1 stock course, I teach a class just going over how we interpret news, what to look for in terms of just common patterns that we see based off news. So that is just a really simple one for me to slip in, just kind of tip of tongue during a meeting like this. But, that's something that I show a lot further in our phase 1 stock course, and then other news related patterns that we tend to see. Like, hey, just because a company raised guidance and had good earnings doesn't mean it's going to continue. It might pop up at first, but hey, I'll tell you right now, GitLab's not the first time that I've seen that happen. Or Roku, go back last earnings season to Delta, my favorite stock now, Delta Airlines. I'm never going to forget it. They raised guidance and had strong earnings. This day, they gapped up. They're up 5% pre-market. That was a weak whistle, but you could tell they obviously dropped and then over time pulled back the market a bit. But yep, you don't want to get stuck holding on. So what else could we add to our watch list right now? We're kind of stuck for a little while here. SE, not really doing much there. Weight Watchers, I know Sam had brought that up earlier, if I'm not mistaken, or from yesterday, 24 hours ago, I think. So, yeah, Weight Watchers, another squeeze up here, right? At the highs. Not much resistance off 11. See, Sam, I remember. There we go. Yeah, I mean, for right now, I wish it had a little bit better volume on the book, but I'm going to add this to our watch list for right now. It's still pretty strong here. Until it's too slow, I feel. NVAX. We had NVAX on our side list, right? Or no, we had it on the main list, and yeah, we're going to keep it on there. Still looking pretty active, and right now it's holding its own right now, trying to bounce. It's got to flip the VWAP into strong support here, though. It's been chopping around it, so sooner rather than later there. TGTX, look at this. Big gap down. I forgot about this one. Back from like end of July, early August here. Pushed up a little bit earlier today, but it's at the highs. There's chance to see this try and potentially fill the gap or get up towards there, maybe whatever that high is. A little over 1183, like $12 basically. It's got a ways to go to get up towards there, but it's at the high. So I like it for right now. We'll add this to our watch list, the TGTX, dead cat bounce opportunity. Just be careful when the volume dies off again on the stock, whenever that may be. All right, so let's see what else we can go put on our watch list here. We're going to jump over to the loser side here. Market grinding up right now. SPY, we had called out support off of 444 and some change. That was a historical level I had recalled back from like a number of months ago. I just had that in the back of my head. So the more it dropped and dropped and dropped, even after reversal time, you're not trying to catch a falling knife, mind you, but you're wondering, when are we going to see a bounce in the market? So a little over 444 on the SPY. We'd called out that level and thankfully had a nice little bounce from that price. How long that will last? I think that we're going to bounce sooner than most people think in terms of like September being a bad month. I normally would agree with that. I am very bullish on the market over time. So I think that we're going to get a really strong bullish market sooner than later. Getting back to this now. Getting back to this, the losers list and AMC in particular. So Fausto had a great call out earlier today when the market opened up. Hey, we had this on our watch list, and he had called out specifically, hey, wait to see this test around like 11. And then he cut himself off. He's like, wait, no. We got like support like 1070 we had support at. And when he has strong conviction in his voice, which he normally does, but there's a certain sense that you could tell when he's on the mic at times, like, all right, let's see what this could do. So as soon as it pulled back towards 1070, I said, all right, well, let's look for that bounce and try and see if this could squeeze up. Well, hey, it squeezed up, but then it failed to continue. And just like I was saying with a lot of these dead cat bounce opportunities, especially, well, in this case, again, we're going to talk about this in the phase 1 course actually coming up this month in September as we restart our education cycle again from the top. But with news and a reverse stock split, it's normally not a good thing to begin with. So we had the reverse stock split back, like a week or two ago. It dropped off. It got crushed. And then some more news came out just over the last 24 hours on AMC. So if it's not going to make that stronger reaction like you want to see, especially with AMC being that like meme stock, that, Reddit, Wall Street bet stock back from a few years ago. Well, if you remember that, then you know the potential it has if you're right with that assessment. If you're wrong with that assessment, then you should know what this is going to end up looking like. And obviously this thing dropped off like a freaking rock. So it was a great call out at the time. I even wrote that to him like after I private chat. I'm like, appreciate that call out. That was one that got me some money at first. But if it's not going to continue, you don't want to be stuck holding and held liable for, a move up over time, because obviously look at where it's at now. So yeah, we're going to at least remove AMC from our main list, because unless if you're buying puts on it, you're not going to try and long this at this point. It's just a straight dart on the way down. I don't think that anyone can short the stock. So if you could buy the puts, maybe that's the only thing that you could do there. But, for right now, we'll just keep it on our radar over time. Like, tomorrow we'll check back in on it. Probably next week once it eventually drops down to $5. All right, OSTK, a little bounce right now off a major psychological level. Speaking of, AMC at 5, well, OSTK here at 20, and ended up getting a small little dollar bounce. How much more could it keep going? Then I'm not really too certain. So, nice move for the meantime, but I'll pass on it here. Snapchat, good short. It's actually pretty close to the lows right now. I like that. Peloton is at the lows. I like that. So both of those I'm going to slip on our main list as more like slower moving level 1 to 2 short opportunities that are near at the lows. That overstock was a nice one, little bounce there. All right, so hey, let me know if there's anything else looking good, folks. We had the Pally on our side list. It's still hanging in there, right? So until this makes a lower low, I'll put this on our main list here for right now. It makes the cut now. Then the MBSE, I'm not as certain about this one comparative to the Pally, but you know what? I guess I'm in a giving mood. I'll put this on our list as well, MBSE. But hey, unless if there's anything that is popping in our face right now, folks, let me know. But otherwise, I think that we'll call it. Got a few call outs here. Mike saying lift up all last week, down this week. It is at the lows, right? It is. Yeah. Actually, if I slip Peloton and Snap on our watch list, I got it. It would be hard to pass up on Lyft, Mike, right? A really good call out from Mike right now, I got to say, in terms of just trying not to put too many on our list. Ooh, what the hell happened here? Later here saying looks like each kit halted. Wow, this thing took a smacking earlier today. Didn't notice that until right now. Maybe Rich called out the halts earlier. If he didn't, then probably because it was too thin volume. But this thing down big. Looking at the daily chart, this thing has been through the spin cycle, up and down, left and right. This thing's been all over the place. So you know what? I don't like all over the place. So, nice drop off. Maybe it could bounce over time, but interesting call out from Leda. I appreciate seeing this because it's just cool to look at and cool to like, oh, wow. Just how does a stock drop 61% in one day, right? That's a nice like show and tell right there. I like that in terms of just looking at it. But otherwise, let's see what else we can get. AI, nice little sideless stock, moving up a little bit. Good trend. Thoughts on IONQ? I'm a fan of IONQ. Definitely good stock from our side list. It's up like 2.7%. That also is trending up pretty nice, like the AI stock. I often say this, folks, right? So for a more active day, perhaps like today, uh, I always say start and stick with the watch list. If you are already in a position that I'm not going to put on the main watch list, then stick with that. Focus on that, because especially if it's tradable like AI or IONQ, then if it ends up making a better pop, then perhaps you shout it out to the rest of us too, right? So I'm rooting all of those trades on, the AI and the IONQ, and all of them seem just really fine for right now. Zero problem with either of those. Or, you know, Carvana, I do have an issue with this. It's way too choppy for its price. Let's see what other side list stocks we could muster up that I could say look pretty damn good. I know one of our students had mentioned AAL at first earlier today. I haven't even checked in with it since, so it doesn't look as good now, but nice pop from before. Take a look at a NEO, an XPEV. Of course, my lovely Mara had a pop earlier, but I still think we got plenty of time before the main squeeze up with Bitcoin happens. I think that we're going to drop lower before I think that we're going to drop off a little bit more before we end up squeezing up a lot higher on Bitcoin. So Pally popping. There we go. All right. So I'm going to stop talking right now because we have a lot of stocks to focus on here already at this point. Pally included from Scott. Yeah. It's on our list here at this point. So Bill at the Horn. Yeah. DraftKings, another, side list stock. Looks good. But we'll start with what we got here. NVAX, APLT, the Pally trade, and a few more out there, and a couple of shorts. Hey, Snapchat and Peloton, and then Lyft. I slipped on there at the tail end, but for right now, start and stick with that list right there with what we got. And then we'll go from that point, folks. Like at 3 o'clock, we'll see what else is out there once Rich jumps on the mic in about 10, 15 minutes. So for all of us on social media, Facebook Live, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, the works, I appreciate you folks sticking with me each and every day and each and every afternoon. Send over a quick email if you have any questions or thoughts. I do have to get back to a few of our students here first from yesterday. So, if you're left hanging on an email response, I may have answered your question in Traders Talk in our workshop yesterday. But outside of that, then just be on the lookout for an email later on this evening. But otherwise, scan that QR code on social on any of our streams right now. And that QR code on the top left gets you access to a week-long trial inside our live trading room, get you access to all of our instructors, and then our students, of course, like Sam and Michael, Leda, Bill, Scott, and Ryan, all of them talking right now, at least just at this point. So, best of luck trading going into the market close for all of us here. And then, hey, I'll be in the chat up until 3:30. So if you see something, say something. I will certainly do the same. Let's try and make some money. Take care.